Denver 7 On Demand is brought to you by Ferguson and BAC Appliance Center, the best in bath, kitchen, and lighting for your home.
Good evening. I'm Ann Trujillo with the latest from Denver 7. Is a Denver plant putting the public's health at risk? The state says no, but people who live and work nearby say the air is toxic. Denver 7's Jennifer Kowaleski listened to all the claims and concerns in this 360 report.
In picturesque downtown Denver, where skyscrapers frame Rocky Mountain peaks, there's a hidden polluter just 5 miles north of the city.
I saw a really big plume of fire.
When chemicals from the Suncor refinery spew into the air near her home, Leanna Flores often documents it.
Sometimes it smells like rotten eggs, sometimes it just smells like chemicals.
One chemical in particular now has the attention of Colorado Congresswoman Diana DeGette.
There's a Suncor refinery pumping thousands of pounds of hydrogen cyanide into the air.
So let's clear the air and go 360 for 5 different viewpoints on hydrogen cyanide. Asking the question, are these toxic clouds coming from Suncor safe?
It's currently classified as a chemical weapon.
DeGette says absolutely not, and plans to introduce legislation to force the EPA to act. She wants to close the loophole she says is allowing Suncor to release this toxic chemical into the air unchecked.
Instead of saying, let's find out what's safe and what's not, they said, well, nobody knows the exact limit, so let's just go ahead and pump as much as you want.
Her bill requires the EPA to set an emission standard for hydrogen cyanide, which Suncor and other refineries would have to adhere to, and immediately limit their emissions.
We cannot sit back and allow our community's health to be placed in jeopardy like this.
Let's now bring in our air quality expert.
It's considered a hazardous air pollutant by US EPA.
Gary Kaufman is the guy in charge of the state's air pollution division. His agency granted Suncor its permit to release hydrogen cyanide.
Well, hydrogen cyanide is something that's emitted from all refineries. Exposure can range from breathing difficulties to throat irritation. If the levels are high enough, it could cause death.
While there are health risks associated with this chemical, Kaufman is standing by the limits his agency set.
It's not a problem if it's emitted at lower levels.
He says the concentrations people are being exposed to near Suncor are well below established health-based standards.
We've looked at the hydrogen cyanide issue, and that in and of itself doesn't pose a health risk.
Suncor wouldn't go on camera or comment specifically on hydrogen cyanide. The company tells us it strives for ways to reduce emissions and aims to operate a safe facility. But homeowners like Flores and Loretta Martinez aren't buying it.
No, I don't believe it.
Martinez has lived in Denver's Swansea neighborhood for 38 years and has lost track of the number of scares from the refinery. She doesn't believe the air quality is safe.
I'm asthmatic, so I make sure that I close my windows not to breathe it in. I got my vaporizer and immobilizer.
Just a few years ago, a toxic orange cloud triggered road closures and warnings to stay inside. For her, the concern isn't just hydrogen cyanide. This report obtained by Denver 7 shows an Xcel power outage resulted in the release of more than 100 pounds of hydrogen sulfide, a poisonous, corrosive, and flammable chemical, and more than 500 pounds of sulfur dioxide, which can cause breathing problems over time. Martinez is glad to see someone stepping up for her and her neighbors.
I need to clean up their act.
That was Jennifer Kowaleski reporting. Now, we want to know what you think about all this. Email us at 360@thedenverchannel.com, and you can also send us a message on Facebook or on Twitter. Colorado counties are fighting a controversial gun measure. The red flag bill would allow a judge to order law enforcement to take guns away from people who are considered a threat. Now, 26 counties and 3 towns have passed ordinances claiming to be sanctuaries for the Second Amendment. The Attorney General says if this bill should become law, then those counties must follow it. Another controversial bill moving ahead at the state capitol aims to overhaul regulations to the oil and gas industry. It's designed to give local communities more power and put an increased focus on public safety. If this one passes through the House, Governor Polis says he will sign it. And there's still no word on when or if King Soopers workers will go on strike. Last week, the union voted to authorize a strike, and they have since agreed to go back to the negotiating table with King Soopers executives. Union workers say they need to be paid a living wage.
Workers cannot afford to live in the city in which they work. And so it was worth $7 for a part-timer and $14 a week to a full-timer for only half of the workers.
So both sides are hoping to avoid a strike. We will keep following these negotiations and we will keep you updated. And the University of Denver is taking some of the pressure off its applicants. ACT and SAT scores will no longer be required for admission. DU says the tests often say more about the financial status of a student than how qualified he or she is for college. University officials say you can still submit your scores even though they are no longer required. And a new Denver music venue aims to fight back against ticket bots. Mission Ballroom will open August 7th in the Rhino neighborhood, and this venue will offer admission to some shows under what they call a fair ticketing system. It essentially works as a lottery to make sure that bots can't buy up all the tickets and then take them away from real music fans. A community campaign to get drivers to slow down is gaining momentum in Denver, and it's due in part to a very catchy slogan. Denver 7's Jason Grenauer shows us the West Colfax neighborhood trying to make their area a bit safer.
They're colorful and eye-catching.
We wanted it to be interesting and thought-provoking.
Especially with this specific choice of vocabulary.
Slow the funk down.
Not the beats per minute, the miles per hour.
We heard from the community one of their biggest concerns around traffic safety is speeding of vehicles through their neighborhoods.
Walk Denver went with the catchy, if not controversial, slogan for signs and a mural along Colfax to try to limit crashes involving pedestrians and promote Denver's Vision Zero to eliminate traffic fatalities.
The signs have sparked a conversation. People are talking a lot more about traffic safety than we used to.
Similar to another grassroots effort and signs that push the envelope. STFD Louisville.
They worked.
This initiative did help push, kind of push it over the line in terms of importance.
Art projects like this are all part of that culture change.
But are they working? We took a radar gun to a 30-mile-an-hour section of Colfax to find out. 36. Fair to say it was a 34. Mixed bag of results. 35.
There is definitely a long way to go. This is just the start of building up that will and commitment to change.
That was Jason Grenauer reporting. Now, Denver's Mayor Hancock says he's also making an effort to make streets safer for cars, buses, bikes, and pedestrians. Thousands are out of their homes in Iowa and Nebraska as floodwaters continue to rise. The historic floods have killed 4 people and caused millions of dollars in damage. 74 cities in Nebraska alone have declared a state of emergency. An Aurora church is helping out with the Nebraska flood victims. The Peace with Christ Church on Tower Road is collecting donations, which they will drive to Nebraska at the end of the week. They are looking for non-perishable food, baby formula, diapers, and pet food. To help the flood victims, you can come by the church and drop off your donations. And now from the First Alert Weather Center, here's a look at your forecast. Tomorrow starts spring, and we'll see temperatures in the 50s, even hitting the 60s by the weekend. So a great week ahead. This has been your Denver 7 On Demand update. Thank you so much for joining us. Check back here later tonight for another update and download the Denver 7 app for breaking news and alerts. I'm Ann Trujillo.